We're doing it. We're live. We did it. We did it. We've been live for 5 seconds, babe.
All right.
5 seconds just for the panic.
Hopefully that was an interesting 5 seconds.
I bet it was.
Well,
I bet it
welcome to
was.
season 2, episode 1 of the brand new season of Dose for the Panic. So it looks a little different since last season. I'm not stuck at the sound with just my cell phone anymore. Thanks to my wonderful husband, Russ. I have some really cool equipment. Now we look all a fish, don't we?
Working at it.
Well, if you didn't catch the first season, what is Dose for the Panic? It is an artist wellness podcast where we talk about all different types of concepts in recovery. So both Russ and I have a like substance abuse and mental health type of recovery story, but you don't have to have that specific type of story. If you want to talk about anything, you're welcome to, any hurt, habit, or hang up. So we will discover and talk about all different types of recovery concepts and how it applies to us as artists and music lovers. The overall question that we're going to have today is, what is recovery? And we put out a Q&A in there. I don't know how that works, so if you see it, please answer it or ignore it. But what does recovery mean to you? So if you guys will share your opinion on what that means to you in the comments section, and we will interact with you. But in the meantime, since you haven't seen our faces in a while, we need to give some updates. So, Russ, what has been going on with you? I know what everybody wants to know is, how are you?
Oh, well, thanks for asking that, babe. I appreciate it. I am doing that's the hardest question. People say, "How are you?" Well, I don't know. I'm okay. I'm okay. Back. I'm back to getting myself and motivated and back into life. After the attack in September or August and the loss of my mother in September. And kind of getting everything together and kind of seeing where we're at here. So we're, it's coming together. But thanks for asking, babe. I don't know if that really helped anybody or not. But, I'm physically recovering for the most part. I think I'm pretty much all physically recovered. Scars are there, but physically I'm doing okay. Mentally and emotionally still struggling. Kind of slow thinking sometimes, processing sometimes, but doing okay overall. Looking forward to getting back and doing things like this, though. So there we are. Now you guys know. I think it's important to say hi to the people that are hanging out right now. What do you think?
Oh, that sounds like a
I
cue.
think, yeah, we got to say hi to Heather Egan. She's hanging out right now.
Hello, Heather.
We got Live Music Junkies. I don't know who Live Music Junkies is, but I would assume that must be like Lee.
The Geddes?
The Geddes. Okay, I was going to say, because he says, I'm actually practicing right now, so it's only fitting that I work on East Coast and Dreamcolor. That's got to be Lee.
Yeah, it has to
It's got to be Lee. Okay, cool. Nice to see you out there, Geddes.
The cult leader.
Yeah, the cult leader.
Cult
leader. Charlie Price coming in too. What's up, Charlie? How you doing, dude? So nice to see you. I hope you're probably staying warm out there in Arizona, because it's always warm in Arizona. Pamela Therese, hello. How's it going? How are you doing, girl? Hope life is treating you well today. Aubrey Lynch coming in too. Aloha, fam. I think Aubrey comes in from California. And Tommy Leach, what's going on, East Coast? What's up, dude? Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. But okay, babe. With our hellos out of the way and going on. Check it out, guys. I'm being a producer. I'm doing producer things. Oh, there were other people. JP607, what's up, guys? On my way to dinner, so can't hang for too long. Josh and Kay. Oh, nice to see you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so where should we move forward here into a Dose for the Panic? As this, you are the leader.
Well, I think your personal update kind of led into what we'll talk about. So we kind of had a shitstorm of everything that happened at once. And then all of this wonderful stuff that's going on in the United States right now. It was really tumultuous, kind of depressing. And I felt like we kind of needed a new outlet, almost like we needed during COVID times. And we needed to kind of reach out to people and network in our own right. But have some more positivity that we could spread, and networking with good people and community. And I think your morning show just isn't enough. So we wanted to add something else, and I wanted to be involved in a way, and recovery is kind of my thing. So even though I'm not 100% abstinent, we define recovery in our own way. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to start something different is that there's not a lot of modern harm reduction based recovery groups out there to really give everybody the freedom to explore and to dictate their own recovery and their own treatment. I got kind of bored and just didn't really feel Like it was my place in a lot of the AA meetings. I think those are wonderful and can be really helpful for other people, but personally for me, just wasn't my thing. And I was always trying to find my people. Those type of people who kind of thought like me, but maybe didn't see recovery from an abstinence only standpoint. So, if you are looking for a different group of people, something that isn't just the same run of the mill, backwards and forwards on the big book, then this is for you. I do think that those groups are very helpful and can be really supportive, especially in early recovery. And I do think the big book has a lot of really wonderful things to say. Um, but one of the things that motivates me the most and that I've seen recently is a lot of sort of judgment within the recovery community itself. So I think that's interesting. We're the outcasts, right? So we should be the ones that always support the underdog, but it seems the alcoholics, judge the NA and the NA judges the AA. And if you're not 100% abstinent, then you're not really in recovery, they say. Or if you are marijuana sober, California sober, I hear a lot of the time from people who are long term in recovery who have been able to achieve 100% abstinence, which is fantastic. But I hear a lot of the of judgment from those individuals, which I find really interesting for people who define their recovery like Cali sober. So I want to create an environment where those people can feel comfortable too, whether it's 100% abstinence, whether it's medication management like Suboxone, whether it's California sober, or whether it's I'm still using it, I can't put it down at all, but I just need some cool people around. I want to be that place that is not judgmental, and we support you through your journey and your personalized journey. So, long story short, that's why I wanted to create this podcast. I kind of missed having recovery concepts in my life. I think that we have a lot to teach, even if we're not 100% abstinent ourselves. So, Russell, I'll kick it to you. Tell us a little bit about your own recovery as you've gone through some really, really hard things in a really short period of time. And I can't imagine just how hard that was for you to overcome both of those things, especially when you weren't able to really process mentally. So, how were you able to keep such a positive mindset and use your pain and your trauma for good into making such a beautiful song that you played yesterday or was Wednesday?
Wednesday. It was yesterday.
Wednesday. I love that. I think it's probably one of the most beautiful that you've written, but it was amazing. While I was doom scrolling and cussing and smoking like a freight train, Russ was using his pain for good and he was coping in a healthy way. And he used that to create that really beautiful song. So, very long story short, how are you able to do that?
I guess I would come back into a long for me in the way that I like to uh kind of cope with what's going on in my life. Typically, I have had the outlet of the journal and being able to make a song out of my journal, kind of thing. I've learned that for me, in time of kind of pure tragedy, or I was in tragedy, like uh, I I know like my safest place is to find like what my spirit or what my soul's kind of saying, and trying to listen to it more than likely. So it's like I'm writing words that are just coming to me and reading them and crying as they come out, or trying to describe my moment, so that it brings it to my reality, so that I can have an acceptance of what it is. I think is probably what but it's still a very it's still a I don't know how to explain it. It's a it still has that same kind of lonely feeling while you're doing that. But I think it really helps, for me anyway. It really helped. I don't know, every time that I would have a passionate moment, or a thought that I felt was necessary. I would write it down, and that would help me say, well, I'm organizing something for the bigger, for the better. Hopefully, there'll be something better out of this, and taking words of wisdom that were given to me by my mom on as she was passing, and things like that, and putting them into existence, into that. So that's how I coped with the couple of tragedies that I just had to go through in the last 80 days, 90 days. So, but that was but obviously there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of getting through it and all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of just just trying to find the spirit, and having a support system was very helpful. Being able to have somebody that was kind of or people that were keeping others away, as because sometimes we want to help somebody so bad that we'll will not listen to what their needs are, and it comes from a good place, and it comes from a place of, I just want to hold you, I just want to help you, I just want to talk to you, because if it were me, a lot of people like to think, if it were me, this is what I would want, and that's not you. So you got to remember, that's not what they necessarily want. You can ask them, and if the answer is no, please, should probably respect it. But I was blessed with kind of a barrier where I was able to kind of hide in in my cave when I wanted to, and poke my head out when I wanted to, and to see people. So that's really how I went through that part of my recovery, of life recovery, of kind of tragedy recovery, we put it that way, because life is recovering. It's not always alcohol recovery or drug recovery. It's life recovery. It's
Right.
recovery from things we didn't expect to happen, not necessarily things we chose. you know Things like that. So but yeah, that's I think that would probably be the you say, how did I do it? I just I've lots of practice of having to think that's what I need to do, because if not, I self-harm. And that's like one of the things I do that's not self-harming, because I don't mind losing my mind and sort of thing, as become self-harming when I don't want to feel, sort of thing. So I try to stay away from that right there. I see Tommy Leach is in here. We got a couple of people that are talking a little bit about their stories. So Tommy says, Tom, I love you, Tom. He's good mofo out there. I know you're recovering. He says recovery's become part of his life, and that we say alcohol free for a long time now. Proud of you, dude. I know I think that I was around you in your last, as you were starting to make those moments, my homeboy. I know there was a time that we sat there, and I promised that was your last beer that you'd ever have, and it was going to be with me. I know you got close to that. You were close. You were on your way then, dude.
I think
Uh,
it's awesome. He's going to outpatient. So you're doing those group classes, which is fantastic. And Vivitrol, that has been a really successful medication, helping people with both alcohol and opiates. So I'm really glad that that's out there on the market. I think a lot of people only know Suboxone, so they don't know all the new medication management out there. So technology is cool. So that's awesome. And also, Aubrey, I love that you run those circles in prison. I've wanted to work in the community correction system for a long time, but because I was in it, I'm not allowed to work in it,
right.
which is strange in my
Yeah.
opinion. I think we would be the best candidates, but um, I think it's wonderful you do that. But that's something I've always wanted to do. So kudos to you. Something that you said that I thought was really interesting, and the experience around your mother. For those who don't know, she was able to pass at home. We were able to be there, but it was a whole bunch of really well-intentioned people who love each other, just bumping into each other, causing mass chaos and trying to help. And some of those things were just interesting, and seeing it from a different perspective when you're the one trying to comfort somebody. It's awkward. I mean, what do you say when you run into somebody at the grocery store and you ask about their mom or ask about their dad? And I had never considered what the other side of that felt like until people started asking me that. And I realized they're well intentioned, they care, they're asking about mom. But sometimes I wasn't thinking about that at all, and I was having a good day, and then they immediately brought that to my attention. So it can shift my mood negatively, and I just started realizing that there was a different perspective to grief, and I think that that experience kind of showed us all the different sides there, and to not feel guilty for having a bunch of different conflicting feelings. I think there were sometimes people were there to help you, and you almost felt guilty because you didn't feel like interacting. So grief can be a funny thing, but I think you did a really good job getting through it.
Well, I appreciate that, my dear. Appreciate that. Yeah. It's just, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, and it's not always easy to do what you have to do. And it's typically the harder thing to do. And I'm typically the reason it's hard is because it's good for you. It's going to make you better. It's going to change what you're going through. Is that we got Scott Harp and Jennifer Harp? We got to say hi to those guys. What's up, guys? Welcome to the thing. Got Jeremy Von Dalen's coming in the house too. Dose for the Panic. You guys are hanging out here with us. This is the Dose for Panic podcast, episode 1, season 2, coming in here right on your Russ Baum channel. Boom.
And our topic is, what is recovery? What does recovery mean to you?
What does it mean to you? So, if you guys dropping in here, what does recovery mean to you? Does it mean recovering from too many chip bags? Does it mean recovering from too many of the whiskeys? Things of the sorts. We have, we're always battling in one form or fashion. It's interesting to live is to kind of recover constantly, almost.
That's true.
It's kind of to kind of deal with life pains and recover from them so that you can enjoy the life's joys.
Especially what we've been through the last 10 or 20 years. It does feel like living is constantly recovering from collective trauma.
I think that's that's safe to say for everyone. I think that's safe to say for everyone, because life is always full of things we need to recover from. Even at the top of our game, even whenever it's like I know there's times I look and I'm just so happy. I just don't understand how I can even feel this happy. And then there's times where it's like, what happened to the happy, and it's like, what happened to that? Well, you got to recover and get back there for a second. It's like life's challenge is to wave up and down into that, and to try not to go deep when you go hard into the hard feelings, I like that. Jennifer Harp says, recovering from some deep family dysfunction and trauma, life. So recovering from family traumas and things. That's something we haven't talked about either, like the family traumas. And, there's a lot of
an entire
life
season.
recover. Yeah, well, luckily, Dose for the Panic
season on every family member
is just a dose. It's, there's plenty more, hopefully we'll never run out of these doses, sort of thing. What else do you have on your list for today, my wonderful host?
Well, being in those types of situations, I think when we're going through dark times, trying to be able to cope and rise above them is being able to change our perspective to something positive. And one of my favorite quotes is when in times of trauma, and I think he actually said it during 9/11 or something like that, but it was Mr. Rogers, and he said, look for the helpers. And something that I thought was kind of really silly and frivolous at the time has genuinely helped me in certain times of chaos, like now, like times of grief, when you want to be angry and you want to lash out at everybody. Instead, I try to pause and I try to look for the good and the people that are helping. And it does help change my mindset to identify the positives and identify those people as opposed to the negative. And I am terrible at constantly thinking the negative. He's the Tigger, I'm the Eeyore, and I have a little black cloud that sort of follows me around. It's like that's kind of just been my entire life with my mental health journey, but I struggle with that. I struggle with positive thinking, so I have to make an effort every day not to be a bitch. It just comes naturally.
It becomes you do have to. You do have to do that every day. I've noticed. No, but I think all of us do too. Like, as it's like, it becomes being mad at life makes you a mad person. And being a mad person can make you like kind of mad, like not just angry mad, but kind of,
the more you know.
The more you know. Yeah. Well, thank you, John Madden. At the end, if it makes you mad, it'll make you a mad person if you're mad all the time. It's like, thank you very much, Russ. Thanks for your input. Tommy, I like this. He too. It says it's for him. It said recovery meant not making a fool of myself and being able to hold on to other people who care about me. I've lost enough of my health and of the people I care about who don't care about me anymore. Done losing things to alcohol. Good for you, Tommy. Yes, that's a great way to describe what recovery is to you. Right now, I'm also going through some physical recovery because I've been skateboarding, and it hurts. I've been
his midlife recovery.
My midlife recovery. I've been eating shit a lot on the skate park. I've been having a lot of fun. Let's see.
I think alcohol, honestly, like physically, I think opiates was the hardest drug for me to quit. But alcohol has just was difficult in its own unique way that is just so damn accessible. Like it's literally everywhere, and you don't notice how everywhere it is until you start noticing it, and then it's alarming how everywhere it is and just how easily accessible and like culturally just pushed. Actually, like high risk drinking is kind of become the norm, so that one is hard, especially I think when you're bored, like when you're sitting there waiting for the band to start, or if you're like alone. There was always, well,
The
I'm just gonna sit here with
nerves,
a drink
the
and
panic nerves.
talking about making a fool of yourself, Tommy. Thank God that the type of video phones we have now were not around in my 20s, because I'd end up on Columbus Man,
You would,
TMZ.
yeah, you'd be on all the things that all the poor people are on right now that they get blasted, right? But that's part of that's the humiliation is part of the and then you know what we do? We go and hide and we drink to deal with the humiliation we did to ourselves sometimes. At least that's for alcohol or other things. But let's see. Hard to escape the booze and live music. Jeremy Von Dellen says, yes, it
That's so
is.
true.
Because people like to let loose, right? And they tell you that. They're like, I'm letting loose. I've been working all week. I'm going to let it go. And they're all losing their minds and making fools and their booze all over the place. I have learned, like you said, the Cali sober is, one day I think I'll probably stop smoking marijuana. But right now, like Cali sober wise, that's where I'm at, but I have had a history. It's been about 16 years of opiate recovery right now. Because about a year before Taylor was born was the last time I was taking all that. So I had a good 10-year run with that, and so it was nice to get through that. And I don't know why I brought that up, but necessarily other than talking about like the history of recovery, alcohol recovery, which I still struggle with.
I like phases. Like
Yeah,
we go through different phases. That's kind of something that I didn't like about the abstinence only movement in recovery, which is funny because if you talk about abstinence only as a concept in sex education, that seems so archaic. But if we talk about it in recovery, for some reason, it's no, this is the way you have to do it. And I think like full abstinence is obviously like, wouldn't that be the best, right? Don't we want to obtain that? I don't want to eat sugar or drink caffeine anymore. That'd be wonderful. But for me, that's not realistic. And I think for a lot of people, it wasn't realistic, and it can make us feel like failures, as opposed to sort of a step down method, which helped me more. Instead of just like, okay, like tomorrow you quit everything. Isn't this great? You're going to be so successful. And I wasn't ever. So I needed to stop the opiates and then try to stop the alcohol. And then I had to do like the stuff that was definitely going to kill me first and kind of step down. And I just don't feel like that's a respected part of recovery.
yeah,
But one of my favorite things, my best friend's brother, who is one of my like favorite recovery heroes, he said one time, because I called him up and I was actually intoxicated, and he was telling me I needed to go to a meeting, and I was giving him every excuse in the book, but one of them being that I was intoxicated, and how could I go to a meeting if I was not really sober? And he said that the only requirement is a desire to get clean and sober, and that was a light bulb. So I like that. I think the only requirement there is a desire to want to better yourself. It doesn't matter how you're doing it, or what shape you're in. Hopefully, you don't show up really intoxicated to a meeting. That would not be good. But that overall just open mindedness about recovery, I'd like to see. And I don't think that we see that here in the Bible Belt.
no,
We don't get a
yeah.
lot of good options.
No, it's true. And what is Adrienne Parker's in the house too. She says she's loving this. Love you too. We appreciate you, Adrienne. We appreciate you too. We've got other suggestions, or we're talking about of making moves in your lives to kind of remove yourself from the bad situation, or because sometimes we're recovering from relationships, or we're recovering from
Love.
problems that there's symptoms of this relationship with these people that are that are necessarily could be bad influences on us. But we have let's see, a friend who quit pills a year ago and cigs about 6 months and traded those habits with candy and live music. He also left that crowd and found a new family who support him. So
That's awesome.
that is definitely awesome, because there's a great feeling whenever you actually. It's so interesting. I'd like to put this out there. Sometimes we're in a crowd that we like so much, or we think we like so much, or we're hanging out and doing these things so much with, that we think it's going to be. We think when we leave there, we're going to feel lonely, and a lot of the times it's not. Once we leave there, we realize there's a bunch of people waiting for us to leave there, to be like waiting for you. You know, you're a good. You're. We knew you were better than this. You know, and we knew we got to heal sometimes, and time it takes time to heal. You know, sort of thing like that. I see. Uh, Christy Condry is in the house. She says, "Not everyone's recovery is the same. Humans have emotions. They aren't puzzle pieces. That is a fact."
I want to kick back to something that Jeremy said, and I think he said it. He was the one that said it's hard to escape booze and live music.
Yeah.
So I remember not being 21, but wanting to go see so many of these bands, and like the hippie jam band scene was big back then, but you couldn't because literally every venue was like 21 plus, right?
Yeah.
And so I couldn't wait. I was already drinking, so that was not an enigma. But I couldn't wait to be 21 plus so I could get into these venues. But they're all like alcohol serving venues. And I think that not only is a bad start when any type of music you can see, you have to go to a venue that serves alcohol, but it really was everywhere. Nowadays, it's pretty cool. We've have a like a new revolution with this generation with theaters and mocktails and a new
Mocktails.
sobriety movement. So I'm so happy to see where it's going. But yes, oh my gosh, incredibly difficult to try to enjoy a concert, especially for the first time or two. I always brought a friend. That's one of my favorite pieces of advice is the Irish goodbye, to always bring a friend and always have an out.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Bonnie Fleming's hanging out from Florida too, so we got to say hi to Bonnie. Please be careful out there. She's in traffic. Tommy, I appreciate you, buddy. He said, speaking of healing, so happy that I'm sitting here looking good and sounding good. I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate you. Thanks to an amazing nurse who is my wife. Who is she's not a registered nurse, but she's definitely registered as my favorite nurse. Hello, nurse. What's up, girl? Oh, sorry, guys.
It's been fun. It's been fun having the ability to have some time off, even though you needed to get insanely hurt for that, which is unfortunate. But the benefits have been great.
Yeah, it's been nice to be home. I can tell you that it's been nice to be home. The I wanted to bring this up too as another. What does recovery mean to me? Because recovery can mean 1,000 things to one person. It can mean 1,000 things to 1,000 people. But we recover. What else do we recover from? I'm going to bring this up, like a pornography addiction. Recovering from that. That was another thing that I like was vividly, viciously fought through my as a young man and going into the world. And I feel for the people in the world right now that get crazy, because it's one of these things that makes you, it's almost like the booze. When you overdo it, I'll put it that way, when you overdo it and you find yourself locked in your room for days, just like literally just trying to pass out like it's a drug. So like recovering from that is a thing we don't talk about. I like talking about things that like people don't, like, because recovery, we always want to go like hard drugs and alcohol, but there's like life has constant vices and recoveries. You got, sort of things to balance it
That one's
out.
a shameful one.
Yeah.
That one, like I think now, even like I think an intravenous drug user may feel more comfortable and more accepted than the sex addict now,
Then the dude is,
because it still has that that stigma to it. But I also like the concept that feelings can be drugs, and you can be addicted to a certain feeling. And I think that we see now, especially in the media, like anger, like people
oh
are
yeah,
addicted to anger and outrage. And if you have the best rage bait, you get the best ratings and you get money. And I just see like an addiction to being angry and constantly being outraged or offended, and
yeah.
leaning with stepping forward with love and trying to have love and understanding has been pretty difficult, I think, in
Yeah.
this type of world right now. But I think it's more important than ever to try to find common ground and stick to that, so that we can be effective and make change and focus on the positives.
Right.
Realize all the people that we have around us that do love us, instead of all the negative and the division. They want to unify.
Yeah.
United we stand, divided we fall.
Right. Yeah, we gotta stay together, man.
Wife nurses are the best.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
You don't have a wife nurse. You have
I need a wife nurse.
you have a sweet husband that doesn't know how to be a good nurse.
That's not true. That's not true. You do a really good job being a nurse. That's
You're
for sure.
well,
You take really good care of my mom. A lot of people don't know
stop
that.
it.
You're
You
a
stop it.
sweetheart when people
That's
aren't
for
around.
you and her.
Well, let's see.
Yeah, where do we want to move on to our topics? Well, guys, I want to say, anybody that's tuning in right now, thank you for joining us here on the Dose for the Panic podcast with starring Megan Baum. That's right. I may not always be here when Megan is here, but I will be here as much as possible as we figure all this out. And we're learning. We finally we got a camera set up and stuff, babe. Look, we did it. We did it. We do it. But we are here to talk about the recovery community and ideals in recovery and different concepts. Amanda Rester LaFlower. Mascuzi, LaFlower. Hey, friends. Justin is at wrestling practice with Iris, but send him props. He's been alcohol free for 8
Oh,
months.
that's
Good for you, Justin.
fantastic.
Yeah, we're here to celebrate you guys too. Let's do that. Let's talk about celebrating.
I think kids actually help with purpose. I didn't give a
Yeah,
shit about myself, but once my kids were involved, then that kind of helped me not want to be a piece of shit anymore.
yeah, yeah. What is our suggestion? Because check this out. Uh, Parents with children that are teenagers and going into the world. That's something I'd like to open up about, understanding like when are they when do you or how do you help them find their ways to cope with life that don't lead to like the habits of old, which would be like the early drinking habits, early drug use habits, and all that sort of stuff. When you're dealing with 21 plus and they're hanging out with people, they see that the alcoholic influences and stuff like that. I think that's a good ways to cope with that, and teaching them art and how to create music and how to be goofy without needing anything additional to be yourself, sort of thing. What would be your suggestions, Megan, on because I know that you are very good with our children as teaching them through this because of your experience in life and your so so anybody out there like with a, let's see, 14-year-old, when we're trying to give them a healthy releases, lots of 21 plus leaves our 14-year-old out. Keeping the family together.
I don't have good advice because I was a horrible role model, and the way that I taught my kids was to be an absolute terrible example, so I could be like, "Don't do this." And from then, I really just tried to be as honest and open and accountable and transparent as I can possibly be, and try to talk to them about the source and the underlying pain that causes any type of addiction, and to deal with that, and to have open communication and tell them about all the horrible dangers of things, and just provide as much education as I possibly can. But I don't know. I don't think there is any perfect trick to that.
Yeah.
My parents were fantastic, and I still ended up, using drugs. I don't feel like that was necessarily their fault, or anything. So I don't know. I know that the open conversations and the being able to ask someone that's not your friend, that wasn't open conversation. Like we didn't have that type of relationship where I could ask those questions. It was just, don't do that because I said so. So I would ask my friends, and they're like, "Sure, you can take a 10 strip." Um, and of course, it was terrible advice. So
Awful advice.
nowadays, I think if they're seeking answers, they have someone that they trust that's going to give them correct information. And also, like the internet. We didn't have the internet back then, so we trusted Tommy at the Shakedown
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah, yeah, old trustworthy Wookiees down there at Shakedown Street,
I
down
have
there where
no
you get
idea how
your.
I survived half of the dumb shit
I don't
we
know.
did.
It's
I
all
don't
out there,
know.
man. It's all out there, still out there. Let's see. Tommy, let's see. Jeremy actually says you have to tell your kids your story and share your pain. That's
I
great
agree.
advice, I believe. Tommy was actually agreeing with you about having the children, that making a big difference. It did for me too. I had what you would call a religious experience when Taylor was born. And I actually tried to sober. I did sober up. I didn't drink for over 2 years after he was born. It wasn't until like I started going out and playing music with Huck Finn and started really going down that road of sin. I started like falling back hard again into the alcohol world. But it definitely was a great inspiration. And also, I would like to say another one about it is he has been the inspiration as a child. Like I don't know if it's good or not or bad for him, but I have told him as he's growing that like he literally has saved my life. He kept me alive If it wasn't for being a father, we would probably have lost me a long time
Oh,
ago.
I agree.
And that's true story. Because I was on my way to straight hell before that, and
Yeah, I
so
was building properties there. I just had a new balcony built in my my lava side
yeah,
condo in hell.
your condo in hell. It's nice to be there.
But I
It's
don't
nice.
know. I wish I had better advice. I think being open and honest and not hiding and like Jeremy said, kind of tell your story and your pain and don't be embarrassed. Think kids are more accepting than you realize, and they want to know.
Yeah,
And
the kids. They just say the kids want to know. I think that's especially this generation. I feel like this generation is actually one of the greatest, going to be one of the greatest generations of because they're emotionally and mentally and emotionally, they're worried about mental health and emotional health, and that's what's going to be the key to them not needing the because instead of neglecting emotional and mental health, instead we're embracing it, and when we neglect, we start that's abusing it, and then we start abusing ourselves, sort of thing. So I think that's I don't know.
I like our children need to hear we are proud of them. I agree. And I think something that's important is they need to hear that you are proud of them, like who they are, as opposed to their accomplishment or something external outside of themselves, so that they can build that worth inside. Because grades can change, jobs can change, but knowing that you're proud of who they are as a person, I think that that's something important that I try to make sure that I say to my kiddos. It's kind of like with my daughter. I don't want to lead with she's beautiful because I don't want her to feel that that's the very first value you put on there. So I slide it in there, but I slide it like third or fourth or something, and I try to put brilliant and driven and capable and those things. I think that's where I find the most motivation is just telling them like, hey, good job, or that you're interested in something. That was really hard when our kids were younger, though, and you just got off work and you had like 5 minutes of alone time. And then that's when both of our children have terrible ADHD, wanted to tell us at about like 5 times speed about a YouTube video or something.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I can handle sitting there talking to them. So
Well,
different stages, a little bit different with teenagers now.
yeah. Yeah, it is. My brain starts bouncing all over the place. I was just reading in there another as Tommy came in and said when he got the notification for this, it isn't what he thought it was, and
Oh
it would.
no.
He goes,
In a good
it'd be in a very good way. I love this.
hell
Oh
yeah, Tommy.
goodness, let's
I'm
see.
glad it was a good surprise. Lord knows with us bombs, it could be anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fact, right? Sending some love out there to Charlie, as he says, just a couple weeks ago, he lost a close friend for taking her own life due to the depression that evolved from alcohol and drug use. Always pay attention to the ones close to you. Smiles hide dark secrets. That is
That's true.
true. That is true, my man. That is true. And sending you blessed love out there to your friends, because we've all. I feel like it would probably be safe to say everybody that is hanging out in this group, if you're an adult, uh, pushing it, anywhere. Honestly, like adults, pretty much by the time you're in your 20s, you have lost a friend to this.
Oh, yeah, I
You've lost
agree.
more than and
Or
as
a
we grow
family
into our,
member.
yes, and so it's talking about it's what it's all about, and if you're out there right now and you're struggling through it, just know you're not alone on the struggle either. And something I like to encourage people to know is uh, the doomsdays, and maybe you can give me some intake on there, insight on this. Uh, uh, Whenever we have like our a lot of us will have like a super, because we get super high and happy, and then we get super dark and depressed. So we kind of get in that whole doomsday zone. Where was I going to go with my question? Oh my goodness. Oh shoot. Uh, I kind of lost it. I just kind of lost it because it was about getting out of kind of the doomsday zone of its of oh, here we are. When you slip and fall, like it's okay. You can get back up. Like you don't have to be like, well, I failed because I did this today. I made a mistake and I was going to recover, and now even if I had like a 30 or a 60 or 6 months or a 9 months or a 2 years or a 5 years, and we relapse, um, a lot of us, I feel, as in my experience, I have just been like, well, I relapsed, I failed. And then I've learned through therapy that one of the biggest things that makes me want to use is the feeling of failure. And so, and that feeling of failure can be momentary. Like it goes away. It comes in waves, just like any other emotion. It's a feeling, so it's an emotion. It will come and go. But if you're out there and you have slipped and fallen, like just know like you can't succeed without failure, and you can't. And it gets better every time. I've been there along the road for other people and myself to see how hard it is to be like, well, first couple of weeks, oh, now I've failed, so I'm just going to drink for another month, and then they try again, but they're sober for a month or two, and then they fail again, and they still feel like they're just failing and they can't beat it, and it's very difficult for them to see they have actually been beating it. They
Yeah.
have actually gotten better at it.
The
They
answer
are
to that
spending more time
was
away from it,
in your
and
own sentence, you know,
yeah,
with they had 2 months sober and then they relapsed.
uh-huh,
I've always told my clients like, no, they had 2 months sober. There's a period at the end of that sentence. There is no but after that.
yeah,
And that's why I don't like the modern, or I'm sorry, the archaic sort of recovery and abstinence only, because it does, I think, make you feel like a failure. And as opposed to, I stayed completely clean and sober for 2 solid months. I've never been able to do that before. And being
yeah,
stoked and being excited, now I feel like a failure. And what I heard a lot was that it was all a waste, and that those 2 months that were for nothing, and they lost it all because they relapsed. And that used to make me so sad because um it's a good metaphor, I think, with school, because I would tell them like, okay, so all last semester you got A's, we got one F, and like
mhm,
all last semester sucks now,
right.
and well, no, so those successes and those achievements are still there, and they are not in any way
Mm.
minimized.
They should be celebrated. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, just minimized by relapse. They should be.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and that was so that's what I was kind of feeling about that was like those you should be celebrated for the little wins all along the way, and you should be celebrating yourself, and as in like I like Tommy was saying here, he struggles. He says his biggest failure is when he thinks he succeeded. He goes, he can make it 6 months, and then I'm good, and then he blows it for a week or two, and then have to make it another 6 months and have to stop yourself when you get to that point. It's a but the thing I'd like to say that's important to you, Tommy, and that is like, and here you are noticing and recognizing this is what's happening, and you might mess up for a couple of weeks, or you might, let yourself down for a
Doesn't
couple of
mess
weeks.
up. I'm
But
gonna stop you because
thank
we
you.
have to stop where we
Let yourself down was kind of the word I was really wanting.
that rhetoric in and of itself was so negative and so self-depreciating, as opposed to, you look at, like, if you read Tommy's sentence, thank God we have it typed out in front of us. But
Yeah.
my biggest failure is when I think I've succeeded. I make it 6 months, I think I'm good. And I get what you're saying, man. You get on that like pink cloud high and you're like, man, I can have one. But I get it. But it's just funny how we phrase things, because you've got 6 months clean, and you say you blow it for a week or two, but then you're clean for a whole other 6 months. So that's phenomenal to me. That is a lot of progress, from someone who maybe thought that they couldn't have one day, let alone 1 hour sober, and you've made it 6 whole months. And some shit went on, man, and then you made it 6 whole months after that. That is a huge success. And if we start seeing things like that, not only will our self-confidence improve, but that negative perception, that negative self-talk keeps you in the standing in the way of your own goals, and keeps you kind of standing in your own way. So I notice that by the way that we talk about ourselves and talk about our recovery, there's so much shame, and guilt in that. And it's not our fault. That's something that society has done to us through a very long history I could get into. But that stigma is there. And so we're fighting against that now. And so watching ourselves on how we phrase those things, I think, is really important, and giving ourselves the credit that we deserve. Because I can't tell you how many people relapsed just off of those failures, and kept in a relapse. Perhaps they would have one night of drinking and get back to it, but they feel like such a piece of shit that they keep drinking because they don't like themselves anymore. They feel like they failed. So that language in and of itself, I think, is really important to change. Well, kids, time to shake it off.
Yeah. Yeah, say
Good to see you, Jeremy. Thank
if
you.
only we had that grace, right? He says we tell our kids to shake it off and get up and resume life. If only we had that grace, right? And a lot of us didn't, and that's what I'm saying about this generation. Our generation are opening their minds a little bit of how to relate to our children a little bit better and help them out instead of casting them to the pile of outcasts every time that they've humiliated the family. Sort of thing. I think I've humiliated my family like more than most. Like, I'm pretty sure that I have spent like most of my life just humiliating people that love me, that like try to stand behind me. And
we love you.
And you're right. You're welcome. You're trying to say that I have humiliated you? I have. I know I have.
I think it's fair to say we both humiliated each other. We've been together 12 years. Yeah, there's definitely been times we have done that to each other.
Yep. Actually, earlier today, we drove to the first place we met.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I kissed you there.
Valley Branch.
In case y'all didn't know, I'm a romantic guy.
We actually talked about Camp Rastafarian. We threw around doing that again.
Possibly 2025 Camp Rastafarian.
Put our mind on it.
So anything out there for you guys to think about those sort of things. Let's see. What else can as you know, babe, we've had I think a pretty fantastic episode so far and keeping people engaging. I see lots of people. Thank you everybody who's commenting and talking to us there, because that is keeping us rocking and rolling and keeping things to talk about. And we love having you guys in the conversation.
I think that you were starting to ask a question, I think, about like catastrophizing and doomsday thinking. And to kick back to that, how do you stop yourself from doing that? Because I think this would be a really great sort of theme to end on. And the way that you stop that doomsday thinking is to stop yourself, and the way that you talk to yourself and say a sentence, stop and pause, say it out loud to yourself. And sometimes we'll be shocked as how negative and degrading it is. And to change that inner self-talk, that's the way that I think is the most effective, and it's free and something that you can do. Hands to comment.
Okay, and no, that's once again. Tommy says he says there's plenty of podcasts and streams where if I even commented, I'd be either made fun of or treated poorly for the way I acted. Aww. Thank you guys for giving a shit.
Well,
I'm doing dishes and keep drying his hands to comment because he loves what we're saying. We appreciate you there, buddy. Chrissy is up there too. She's got another great one. We love sharing your guys because not everybody is actually probably watching all the comments as they're listening along. But look at life's lessons as learned and not. It says look at lessons learned not as failure, but look at it as knowledge. I like that too. Because that's how we're gonna do. Because I think a lot of the wisest people have been through an awful lot of shit. Is all I'm saying, and they've tried to learn to be patient through it and dig through the shit to find the pony. That's what I like to say. Like, if you got a room full of horse shit, there's a pony in there somewhere. Go find it. Go ride your pony.
You have the most random shit.
I know, right? Speaking of random, this morning, guys. Now I've been skateboarding a lot. Okay, it's seriously like a massive passion of mine that I haven't been able to do in 25 years. And I finally got aboard and skating with my boy and out and doing the whole getting in the bowls and doing all this, dropping in and doing the half pipe stuff and all that stuff. But it comes with like grown man damage because like I'm a grown person, 44 years old. Okay. And I'm landing on concrete hard and sort of thing. So this morning, speaking of my weird brain, this morning I go to put my shirt on. And as I start to put it on, it made me go, ah, and my brain says, want you to know that I'm happy for you. like my ADD brain, I was in pain, and it sang me Alanis Morissette, all because it like recognized like I was like, want you to know. Sorry, guys. You're welcome.
Please tell me you're wearing protective gear.
Oh, that is why I'm hurting. No, I've already hurt both of my wrists, my shoulder, my elbow. Right now, if I would show you, I am road rash is totally shit from yesterday. It's stingy. Megan barely touched my knee in the middle of the night early this morning and woke me up from a dead sleep from me going, ah!
Scared the shit out of me.
I was like, my knee was so sensitive. My knee was so sensitive. But no, I was actually telling her today, it's like time for me to get I really need to get all my pads on before I do this because I don't need to be broken. But I love it so much, it's totally worth it.
Like the wife side.
I know. It's
trying to keep you alive is really difficult.
Yeah. See, I wanted to be a race car driver, or not a race car driver, a motorcycle racer. And my mom was really happy I went with music because she's like, "You're gonna die," and I was like, "No, it'll be great. I love to thrill seek." And she's like, "Please play music." And then I wrecked
that was better.
And then I wrecked a motorcycle pretty bad, and I was like, "Okay, music it is. Music it is."
Wear a helmet. Thank you.
Yes, I know. I don't have a helmet on either. I'm gonna. I
Lay
will
it
though.
on, guys.
I will though. Because everything else hurts so bad.
Keep him accountable.
The pads are expensive. I need to get them.
Next week,
This
need
is
to ask him, Russ, did you get your helmet?
Maybe next week we can make the whole podcast about excuses, because everybody's got an excuse.
That is true.
For things like that. Like for me, I could protect myself in my world of recovery, or I could go out without pads and self-harm.
Oh, that's lovely.
So
I appreciate you guys joining us here for
the
first episode of the second season. So those of you who have found us here obviously have found a Patreon. So thank you for that. We're trying to move away from Meta because Meta kind of fucked us real hard. So we don't want to go back there. So we're here on Patreon and we like this platform. We appreciate you guys joining. We will have more episodes. They will more than likely be for the paid members. We will have some free stuff available too. So if you are not a paid member and you want to check out these podcasts, make sure that you upgrade so you can check it out next week. We also have some cool gifts that are going out for our premium members. They will get this for free, but the rest of you will be able to purchase before the general public. And it is a burned copy of Live at Max's Place, the very first Russell Baum album, and what we're doing through the discography series right now. He just played a bunch of tunes from that. So this will be the premium gift, and then you'll be able to purchase it as well before the general public. And it has original artwork and everything.
Yeah,
so
it does.
Live
I'm
at
Max's
Place. We're gonna have some Live at Max's Place merch, and we just heard that Max's Place has signed a new lease. So it may be reopening in Bloomington. We need to go hold Traverse.
That would be a really cool thing to do there. I was the whole time you're doing that, I was hoping that I could beat you to the Zoom so it would do auto zoom and zoom in on you.
Well, this isn't gonna make him sick.
Take this.
Anyway, 2 other things that we'll get out of here. If you guys haven't gotten your enamel pins yet, make sure that you grab them. We only have a few left. I think it might be 6. So Russ Baum Super Wayne enamel pins with the rose gold, super pretty. The only ones that will be made. Next time, I will make sure that they are numbered. That was my fatal mistake there. But last 6 of these enamel pins, and then little too rich for your blood. We got some nice buttons that you guys can get to. So all kinds of new little stuff in there. Come see our store at bombshell.com at Bombshell Clothing Company.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope that didn't make our thing go away there for a minute.
I think it probably made everybody sick and we probably lost everyone.
And I don't think so. I think it's starting to work out. I don't know where the pop-ups for the comments are. There we are. Hey, we did it.
Love the color. Oh, thank you. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week. And don't forget, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Digital Dopamine, and we'll be right here in Patreon. We'll share the link in the Bomb Squad Facebook, too. Thank you guys for keeping that alive. I do appreciate that. We're trying to stay away from Meta, so you guys keeping that group alive is awesome.
One more. Did I hear you let them know that this is the Christmas gift for the premium Patreon members?
I may have.
You may have. Okay, well, if you did, then I don't have to say it again. But everybody who gets the premium Patreon will receive in November, all November premium Patreon members will receive a physical copy of this baby right here, guys. And this is one of about every 90 days, you guys are going to get an album. Hide and watch. Awesome. And with that, babe, should we, it's a dose.
A dose for the panic. Thanks, everybody.